Hey, it's Dave. Welcome back to my channel. So as promised, there's the Eric Clapton song Forever Man, which is one of my favorites by him. One of my favorite albums. I love August. There's so many great songs on it. And I did it today on my, what used to be called my #1 Strat. And now I just refer to it as the Black Strat. And I kind of made it look like Gilmore's Black Strat. This is, and I've talked about this in other videos before, this is a Deluxe V Strat from 2009. I put a Warmouth Black Guard on it. Dimarzio 54, Area 58s in the neck and middle. Stainless steel frets replaced the original frets that came on this guitar. I put an extra string tree on it, and it's a V-neck. It's what was called the Deluxe V. And it's a great playing guitar. So moving on a little bit, I did want to talk a little bit about some more string stuff because I keep getting comments. And so let me just start by saying, if you haven't seen my string video, which was like the second one I ever did, and it's a shitty quality, obviously it's gotten better, but I will discuss a few points from that. There are some main string manufacturers, and then basically the rest of the strings that you can buy on the market are OEM. They're made by one of the main string manufacturers. For instance, if you're a bass player and you love Ken Smith strings, I believe Ken Smith is picking out those Gages, but that's another company manufacturing them out of Michigan, I believe. I don't want to give away too much information, but that's who's making those strings. And, you know, Gibson stopped making strings in 2008, and Fender doesn't make their own strings. Although I think Fender does supply the bullets to the company that makes the strings for the bullets. But Fender doesn't even try to hide it because they're using the colored balls that's owned by the other string company. That whole concept. And so they're not even trying to hide it. Gibson at least is trying to hide it by having them use all the steel balls and charging you twice as much for a set of strings, when you can buy the same strings under the original brand name for less. So that being said, also someone asked me about what string gauges I use. On all Strat, I use 9s, except my G&L Telly, I use 9 to 46. I do like the heavy bottoms on Tellys. That doesn't have the trem. As far as what Strats go, I use 9 to 42. Any Gibson scale guitar, I'm using 10 to 46. Unless I'm doing a drop tuning, and then I'll go up. If I do like, sometimes I go up to 11s, but for the most part, when it comes to bending, someone was commenting about my bending, I just bend to pitch, and that's something to practice. When I was a kid, I got, I don't know if you guys remember Starlicks, and I got the Larry Carlton Starlicks, and Larry Carlton talked about playing the G major scale in all bends except for the root. And it's a great exercise, and playing country music is also really great for listening and hearing perfect pitch and hearing those notes so you can bend to those notes. And then when you go back to playing rock, it becomes a much easier thing because you're still bending in pitch, but you know, when you're playing with gain, it's a little bit easier. When you're playing clean, it's like you're out there playing naked. So for the most part, yes. So I would recommend, you know, anything you can do with bending and anything like that with strings, just to get your bends going, is a good thing to do. Going back to that August album, I really loved that album. And I think Journeyman afterwards was a very good album, but I think the album before that was better than Journeyman. Behind the Sun, I think it's called, with She's Waiting. That's another great record. Those three together for Clapton were really some of his best stuff as far as being like an artist. And I did love, I mean, Another Ticket was a decent record, and I do like, you know, I love songs like The Core. Like I said, I'm a big fan of him as an artist. As a player, not so much. I always loved Forever Man solo because it's just simple and it actually fits his style. It's like the perfect summation of his whole artistry, career-wise, in my opinion, of when I think of Clapton as a player. Post-Cream, you know, post the Guitar Hero-esque style of playing that he did on those SGs and whatnot. But anyways, that's what I wanted to say about that. And you know, people will say, oh, the string gauges matter. You know, it's the tone. It is. It really does. But the question is how much. Billy Gibbons is using 7s on a Les Paul. He sounds fantastic. Page used to use 8s on a Les Paul. He would basically take a set of 11s and he would use the 11 as the B string and string every other one up, throwing away the low E string, and then use a banjo 8 as his high E string on a Les Paul and on Tellys. I mean, it sounds great. Will you get more tone out of a heavier gauge string? Yeah. Will the audience notice it so much? No. No, I don't think so. But there is a difference. I mean, it's not like the wood situation where I love when people come up and they say, like, you know, it's 96% this and 4% wood. No, it's 0%. It is 0%. Make no mistake about it. The science of it is, if you go look up the physics equation, there is zero equation that changes the actual vibration of the string. The pickup is only reading the magnetic vibration of string. For people who want to say, well, you know, the pickup is somewhat microphonic, great. Go put on a set of nylon strings on your guitar and go play it with your amp cranked on 10 and tell me how wonderful that guitar sounds. You're not going to hear anything except for hum and feedback. That being said, the strings do matter. The mass of the string is one of the issues. But the question is just how much, and I don't know if it's that much. I like using 9s. You know, when you go around and you hang around with the blues Nazi guys, and they're like, 9s, I can do that. Well, really, how come you can't? But you can't even bend in tune. You know, I love when people tell me all these things like, I don't need to use that. I can, you know, I use what T-Bone Walker used. Really? Because he sold 4 records and Jimmy Page sold 400 million. So if your goal is to reach people, you know, make a universal sound. I try to avoid the blues Nazis. They drive me a little bit nuts with their, you know, with the spring reverb, which I mean, I have, 2 amps that have spring reverb. I won't ever use it. To me, it just sounds like I got tinnitus in the ears. Is it tinnitus? Is that the word? Is the word tinnitus? You don't know. The next thing I wanted to talk quickly about was people asking me about doing the different kinds of builds. The yellow Strat that I had built, and for anybody in the Massachusetts, Jim Casey was the guy that put it all together. He's out of Stoughton, Mass. He's a great luthier and works on guitars, electronics, all that stuff. He's great. But I bought all the parts knowing that I was trying to make what I would call the perfect version of the International Strat that I would want. So the International Strat series was a Strat series, I believe, around 80, 81. And they came in these colors like Monaco Yellow and Moroccan Red. There was a beige or a tan. I can't remember what it was called, but whatever. There was a whole bunch of them. And I had the big headstock, so I would love one with a small headstock with a modern radius and all that fun stuff, with the pickups that I like. And then, you know, the modern bridge, the changes to it that I would want on it. But I still would want that yellow and that look. And I also wanted the ebony fingerboard, which I think they might have had a rosewood one, but most of them were maple. And it was back when Fender was using all the black pickup covers and knobs because they were just trying to get rid of it. You know, they had to use it up. And hence the International series. So that's what I kind of did. But there's so many things you can do. You know, if you don't feel like you have the money to go and do the big build that I did, you can go on Craigslist and go find somebody who has, whether it be a USA or a Mexican guitar, try to get the best price for it. Sell the neck. If you don't like the neck, sell the neck. If you want a specific, like I'm playing the Clapton shape, which is a fat V. It feels great. It's got a 10 to 16 radius. I mean, it's awesome. And I put the jumbo steel, stainless steel frets on it. And it comes from Warmouth, like, really great. So you could sell the neck, and then you're making money back on the guitar. You know, you're basically getting the body for that much less. And I even sold the pickups, like on my white one, I sold the pickups too, as a whole assembly. So really, like the white one cost me, which had a much more expensive neck, but it cost me about $900, whereas the yellow cost me $14. Had I gone with the same neck on the yellow, on the white one would have cost me about $600. So you can really get something that's great without having to go spend custom shop money. And that's a cool thing. I still haven't heard anybody tell me what pickup this is. Somebody said it was off a Japanese guitar, but the first thing I said was, it says right on the back, Made in USA. Let's see if you can see that. Dimarzio Pickups, Made in USA. It's got 4 screws on the bottom and in slugs only. And I don't know what it is. It's a decent sounding pickup. If somebody can tell me what it is and they're right, I'll send it to you. I don't want it. I've taken it out of a guitar and put a Fred, but it's a great sounding pickup. It's just I wanted what I considered home for me, which was the Fred. But so please, somebody let me know what that is. Somebody had asked me about the sound that I used on the Foreigner song, and the problem was I didn't save it. But I'm pretty sure I used the Marshall sound in Fender Fuse. I'm basically using a Mustang 2 version 2 amp, and I'm going direct into the computer. And then I'm using Fender Fuse to basically go in and dial it in after I listen to I pull up YouTube and I'm listening to the video or watching a video, and then I'm matching the sound. And when I'm matching that sound, you know, I'm trying to get it exactly like the record. So sometimes, you know, like for the Free song I did, All Right Now, I used a high watt, which it sounded great. So I experiment and just see what's going to sound right, because, you know, you'd be surprised when you hear the different amps, and I'm just trying to match it. Sometimes I save it if I'm like, oh, I could use this on other songs. So what happened for the last song was, for the Clapton one, was I basically went back to the Cuts Like a Knife sound that I had, and I took the delay way down, and I brought the reverb down, and I brought the treble up, the mids way down, and voila, all of a sudden I had that Clapton tone, and I'm like, giddy up. So that was cool, and I didn't save it, but it's just still the other sound, but I know what I did. And it's basically using a Vox amp and a compressor in front of it, pushing the treble and pushing the gain a little bit, and it gets that sound. And that's just, again, in the Fender Mustang. You know, you can get like a lot of great sounds out of any of the modeling stuff if you take the time and you're willing to work with it. A buddy of mine just bought the Helix system out in Los Angeles, and he's going off about how it's the greatest thing for him. And I've always used a Flextone. You can see it right here. That's a Flextone 3 amp right there. That amp's a Flextone 3. I have the pedal board over here as well, the foot pedal controller for it. And it's great because you can really dial in the song. So I figured the Helix must be great, and he loves it. Other than that, I'm really thankful for all the positive comments that everyone says. It's just great. And I'll try to get to some more lessons. If anybody has questions or lesson ideas that they want me to post, or they have a request, you can send it to me in an email. And the email is in my profile on YouTube. It's on the main page. And then if you could also follow me on Instagram, it's Dave_Levine, Levine. I'll put that right there again. And then on Twitter, it's @TheBigAngry. And other than that, again, I thank you again for following, subscribing, and all that stuff. If this is your first time here, hit that subscribe button. And as always, very good.
They got Danish there? Yeah, they got everything. Oh, good. Yeah, let's pick up some Danish for Bell.
You're right on target. You're right on the money. Everything you said. You hit the nail right on the head with your comments, what you're saying today. You're 150% correct.